Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. We have lots of people, including myself, who in the process of exploring the world, etc., you end up traveling a lot, you end up moving to other countries, maybe for a short period of time, maybe not living there for very long. But one of the things that is frequently involved is you have a partner, significant other, spouse, or you're doing some kind of dating. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the subject of how this sort of lifestyle, this digital nomad lifestyle, or this lifestyle of going and living in a country that's foreign to you, etc., may affect relationships. In this case, we're talking about like intimate relationships, so not just friends or family or something like that, but your partner, spouse, significant other, etc. Because I think it's a really interesting and underexplored topic. So let's dive in. Before we do, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification bell. Thank you for your support. And if you'd like help with relocating abroad, getting residencies or citizenships, figuring out where to go, or optimizing your taxes globally, please reach out to me. You can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rodsmith. There's a link in the description below, or send a message to our websites, offshorecitizen.net and offshorecapitalist.com. Okay. So this is quite interesting because today we live in a world where divorce rates are insanely high, right? And I think that that is a sign of underlying, whether it's just marriages itself or relationships in general being churned, it's just super common. Now, the rates vary from part of the world to part of the world, but often you're running 50%. Now, this is somewhat of a deceptive stat because it doesn't actually mean that 50% of people's marriages are failing. What it means is that some people have 3, 4, 5 divorces and some other people not. So it's somewhat skewed statistics. But the bottom line is it's hard to make relationships work, right? You're going to be in a situation where you're going to have lots of struggles. And so the question is, if you're going to another country, living in a new environment where you don't know people, etc., or you're doing a lot of kind of travel, you're being nomadic, you're being a bit of a perpetual traveler, etc. How does this affect your relationship? And one theory might be that it amps up the stress and therefore it is negative. But actually I consider this to be an unsung benefit of this kind of lifestyle, and something that maybe people should do a little bit more if they are interested in long-term relationship success. The reason for this is, interestingly, when you go to another place, it adds a little, it's like a pressure cooker to some extent, right? In the sense that if you don't get along with the person, that's going to end really quick. But I think that if you do get along pretty well with the person, if you do have overlapping interests, complementary goals, etc., then you're actually going to find that it's going to be beneficial. And the reason is it's much harder to leave. So we live in an age of convenience where we want everything to be quick, fast, now. Something doesn't work out, we dislike somebody, we block them, right? This is kind of the culture that we live in. And the truth is there's probably a whole bunch of negatives to that. There's a lot of benefit to taking an approach of commitment. But when you go to a foreign country with somebody, even if you're talking about, being there and getting in a fight over a 2-week trip, what you almost inevitably find is that it's really hard to leave. So the person where you might say, hey, something happened, I disliked them, I was upset, etc., I would just normally block them and leave. You can't do that anymore. You're staying at the same hotel, you're staying in the same Airbnb. There's nobody else around you. You have tickets back together, you have, this kind of thing. I think it's really beneficial. Like what I've seen is a lot of the people who I know who have the closest relationships have lived this kind of lifestyle, which is really fascinating. Now, does this extend to if you have children? Maybe a little bit more difficult in that case. I'm not sure exactly how that plays out. Less personal experience there. But certainly I can think of in my own life, there were definitely times where there's a decent chance that I wouldn't have continued my relationship if I hadn't been traveling in the midst of some fight or dispute. And it turns out, in the big picture of things, what we were fighting about wasn't that important. You get past it, you love the person, you trust the person, etc. And so what's the big deal? Now, even if you go and live in another country, I think this is true. Because once again, you're in a situation where you're somewhat isolated from other people and you really have to rely on each other. There's a much deeper sense of closeness. So whereas if you're growing up in a city, you went to university there, you got a job there, you have a social network there, and you meet somebody and things don't work. Like, it's easy to be apart from that person a lot. It's easy to not go through the tough times with them. It's easy to leave or to just simply kind of drift apart. Whereas when you go into a new country and it's just you, what you find is, yeah, okay, you make some new friends and hopefully you do a bunch of that. Yes, you're gonna go and you're gonna get integrated with the community and meet different people, do different things, etc. But you're still very much experiencing something together. There was a comment that I made to my wife when I first met her, which is, we came from quite different backgrounds, right? She comes from Eastern Europe, from Montenegro. I come from Canada. There's a bunch of cultural differences here. And that can create some friction. On the other hand, what I realized was this is the most different we will ever be. And the reason for that is who you are is shaped in large part by your experiences. And previous to this point in time, you have had different experiences. Now going forward, you're having shared experiences. And there's nothing that brings people together and integrates them like shared experiences. So with that in mind, I think a benefit that people don't talk about much is if you want relationship success, it might be a good idea to go and consider extended travel, perpetual travel, moving to another country. It's not guaranteed, but I think that it actually works out better. I'd love to hear your experiences, what you've found from traveling and seeing the world and being in different places and being with different people and dating around the world. I will point out that this is probably not true if you're flying into a new city, trying to date somebody and then leaving. In that case, it's probably going to cause issues. But if you're traveling with them, if you're relocating with them, I think it's pretty significant. So let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, put them there as well. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you on the next video.